I would love to show you how to paint this lovely chandelier inspired by the artist Amy Dixon. It's just a very colorful, fun, loose way to paint, so I hope you come and enjoy painting it along with me. Let's get started. I'm just using 6 colors which I listed in the description. So I'm mixing my magenta with my yellow to create an orange, my magenta with my blue to create a purple and some white. I'm going to mix 2 of my favorite colors. With that blue and the green, I'm going to make a teal color and an aqua color. And I want to use some white with it to get it down to the value that I want. The color that I'm mixing is a gray. I used my magenta and my emerald green to make this gray, and then some white to make it a lighter gray. And then I'm taking my black and my magenta and making a maroon color. If you want the full mixing video, become a Createful Art VIP member by clicking up there at the right-hand corner. This is the background, and I'm grabbing that maroon color and I'm going to focus on putting that in the bottom, middle, and then I'm going to grab my grays and put those in the bottom left of the maroon and right. Now if you want to get the reference photo, go ahead and click right up there and become a Createful Art member, and you can get the reference photos for all of my paintings, and that'll help you know where I'm placing things as I go. So I'm not worrying about my brush strokes showing colors mixing on my brush, and I'm just being very fun and playful, and this is a great time to be creative. Now the key here is that I want to have the dark area behind my chandelier, so I need to have that dark maroon behind the chandelier so the chandelier can stand out. So I'll have light colors over the chandelier, and this first base color is going to need to be a dark value. So I'm going to take up the dark maroon up past the middle of the painting. So it's going to go quite high on my painting there. Wipe off my brush. I don't need to get all the maroon off of my brush, just most of it. And I'm dipping into my blue and my green color, and I'm going to place those 2 colors on the top part. Now, it doesn't matter that they mix, okay? Notice how they kind of make a little bit of a gray tone. That's great. I want to have some fun and personality up here, so I'm just going to dip into both my green and blue. Have fun mixing it. Just make sure that you cover the top portion of your canvas or panel, and that you also cover all of the white. Once your canvas is all covered, you want to let it dry so that the colors that you put on top are not going to mix with the under layer. So now we're going to add in the composition, so where things are going to go. So I'm grabbing my round brush, I'm going to dip it into my black, or my blackish red, my maroon, my darkest color, and I'm going to start placing down the lines, okay? So I'm going to start with this mark right here at the very top, and it's in the middle, and then I'm adding a curved line very loosely on the left and one on the right. Right? And then just make a line following that all the way down, a vertical line, and you want it to be centered as well. Now I'm going to start adding lines where this is where the candles are going to be sitting on. Okay, so these are, I don't know what they're called. And then I'm going to add in some more loopy lines. You can just follow along as I'm creating these lines to get your composition right, or you can use the reference photo when you sign up to become a Createful Art member. The composition is probably the most important part because this is going to help you lay out the correct look of a chandelier. So I have these lines staggered, one lower, one in the middle, and one on the side on the left. And now I'm going to do something similar on the right, but different than the one on the left, okay? And again, this is where the candles are going to sit on these lines, okay? And you want it to be dark enough that you see the lines. And lastly, there's part of the chandelier around at the very bottom. So you want that to be centered as well. I've cleaned my brush and I've added yellow and white to it. And now I'm going to just follow those lines. And this is just going to add some dimension and light bouncing off of these areas. And I'm adding in my candles, which are vertical lines sitting on top of the black lines. Notice how I'm doing it very loosely. I don't need this to be exact. You can make it as perfect as you want, but this is a very loose, fun, playful painting. Now I'm going to add some of those lines just throughout the chandelier as chandelier pieces. It's time to put in some dots. Again, very just loose and playful. They don't need to be perfect dots, but they're going to be like a curved line connecting one candle part to another candle part. So this one's from the very side to the center, and then the next one from the very side to the center. And then you can do another one from that other candle to the center. I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to add a line, a curved line of dots right there. And then also from the right side to the center. I'm just blobbing these dots down. I'm not making sure that they are perfect circles at all. So just watch where I'm placing these, so you can get an idea of where you want to place yours. Now I'm taking that same color on my brush and I'm going to add in the light, the fire on my candles. So I'm just taking the tip of my brush at the very top and very lightly pulling down and then pushing and going in a round motion. Okay, so I'm just adding those to the top of every one of my candles. Now the next thing that I want to do is add some bling up here at the top. Okay, and just some circles in the curved pattern. And then some random ones. Now I'm going to add the glow around my candles, and I want my candles to be dry. And I'm going to grab some of my yellow paint and a little bit of white and some water on my brush. Now, what I'm looking for here is that I want my color to be transparent because I want it to show the colors behind it, but I also want it to sit on top enough that it makes it look like it glows. Okay, so I don't want to have a lot of paint on my brush because it will have too much coverage. And I don't want there to be too much water that it doesn't cover enough and it doesn't look like it's glowing, it's just turning green. So you have to find a little bit of a happy medium here with your glowing. So I'm going to take a little bit less water this time and a little more white on my brush, and I'm going to add that on the side to see if I like that more, and I do. Now I'm placing this glow all around my candles. So each one of my candles around the white part and even above my candles, so it'll appear like it's glowing, and I'll show you that, how I'm doing that. I'm going to move on to my flat brush just so that I can have some scrubbing, a little bit better of a scrub. So this just helps me see a little bit of what's behind it a little bit better. You don't have to use this brush. This isn't one of the recommended brushes, but I have it handy, so I'm going to use it. Now you see where I just put that white down was too much, so add a little bit more yellow to my brush and some water. You don't want too much coverage. Like I said before, I'm adding this all around each one of my candles. It's my favorite step. We get to add more colors. Now here's the key. I'm going to use every color that I have on my palette, and I'm just going to use one at a time. So I'm going to start with my purple, and I'm going to create those linking dots that I created with the yellow. And I'm also going to add some long vertical pieces. and those will look like pieces of the chandelier. So watch how I do this. First, I give myself an idea of where I want the link to go, and then I just dot randomly and have some long pieces. Now I'm going to be filling in most of the area of the chandelier with all these colors, so it's going to get really busy. So I want to make sure that my dots are close enough together that they follow along, like they make a line, basically. And I also want to make sure that my colors that I'm using are light enough against the dark maroon that they can be seen. So I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do the long pieces of the chandelier here. Very random. Again, this is a very loose painting. There's no wrong spot to put your chandelier pieces or your lines, your links of chandelier pieces, okay? So just be playful and fun. Once you feel like you have enough of one color down, just move on to the next color, linking them again, just the same way as the other ones. So I'm going to use my blue, I'm going to use my green, I'm going to use my yellow, my oranges, have some long pieces down there at the bottom, have some long pieces in the middle, and just link them from one candle to the other pretty randomly. I mean, I am making sure that I have the chandelier linked from one side to the other side. And if I discover that I need to add in some more dots to link them a little bit better, I can do that later on in the last step. Don't forget to add in some of your colors up here at the top, because there's some beautiful chandelier pieces up here as well. So I'm just showing you how moving from one color to the other starts really filling it in. There's no wrong way to do this. You can just be creative. You can look at my reference photo if you want. You can also get this as a full tutorial if you are a VIP member, and you get access to my private Facebook group where I added this as a 1 hour full tutorial. As long as you're adding lots of colors and you're linking your colors from one side to the next, it'll look right. So I'm adding a main color right now, and this is pink. This is just a personal preference. I would like you to pick out one color that you really want to use. You can mix it on your palette, or you can grab it as a tube color. And I just made this with my magenta and my white. And I just really wanted it to be a color that pops out. So notice how it's a really light color and it just pops out. So making sure that I add some pieces just randomly around. And I'm going to work on that bottom chandelier piece. I'm going to add in some more colors. Now the key here is that it needs to have some depth, so I'm going to add some darker color, that purple right there in the middle. Now your painting's going to start looking really busy right now. So I want you to look back at it and see if there's maybe some highlights you need to put in, some curved lines that you want to put in, just some details maybe. Maybe it needs a little bit of a lighter color or darker colors in some areas. So I'm going to add in just a little bit of lighter colors down here at the bottom. I feel like there's a lot of the same value over there on the left. And this is all just how yours is turning out, personal preference as well. I'm going to add some lines that kind of sit on top. See how I'm linking those lines a little bit closer with the yellow? This is just to give it a little more detail because it's turning out to be really busy, but not enough structure to it. So I'm gonna come in here and just add a little bit more structure. Some pieces that are different brush strokes. Fill in that top area with, maybe this is gold at the top. And I'm being very loose, adding in some colors. Another linking line up there, like that. And some long pieces coming down. This lighter color. See how it's brightening it up to have this lighter yellow color in there and more of it throughout the painting. Now I'm going to just go to some of my other colors and go above my black line. I'm using my green for that, but I'll pull in some other colors too. I just don't want to lose the black line. That's the shadow underneath the candle part. So if I have to put it back in, I will. My black so that I can add in, or my darker color so I can add in some shadow area. So this is the difference between the shadows and the lights. And if you don't have enough difference between what's glowing and what's not, then what's glowing won't appear like it's glowing. So I'm going to add in some darker areas. Just watch where I'm putting it. Maybe you need to put it in the same places, or maybe you don't. Maybe you want to add in some more highlighted area like I do. I'm going to add in some of that glowing on top of the black. So I feel like it needs something lighter too. The more you add in, the more it's going to have more interesting shapes here. More fun things to look at. So I'm going to add in some curved lines. Notice how when I add in a swift stroke of curved line, that it breaks apart all the dots and makes it look like this is more of a chandelier. So having in some different shapes helps with that. Now it's time to add in the final touches, some more dimension and some more colors. So I'm going to grab my orange and my yellow here, and I'm going to add in some more colors into my candles. So I'm just grabbing that orange color, and this is going to just show on part of my candle because it's going to give it more interest and look a little bit, not realistic, but like there's more going on than just a straight yellow line. And then I'm also going to add that color into the middle of the fire part of my candle. So right there in the middle, just a tad bit. I'm going to dab each one of them. See how it makes it look a lot better? Now I'm going to grab some lighter yellow. So just some white with a little bit of yellow, and I'm going to add highlights to my candle here. So now I'm adding another layer, and it's going to glow more. Okay, so see how it does that? So I'm going to do that to each one of my candles, just add a little bit more of the light color for some more dimension. Now the pieces that the candles stand on, they're not exactly perfectly round. They have kind of like a floral texture look to them. I don't really know how to explain it. So I'm going to add in some of this blue piece color and just dab it in there. And then I'm going to take that blue and just add it in some more of the areas so that where I had the blue, it links a little bit better. And see the swift strokes, curved strokes and lines. They just add a little bit more to the chandelier. Now, this step, or this part of this tutorial is all about personal preference. So your painting may look quite different from mine, which is okay because we are both unique. And you may have to do different things to your painting to make it look better. So, but here's the key things that I'm doing. I'm adding highlights to some of the sides of those pieces that are hanging down. And I'm adding shadows also to one of the sides of them. So I could add a highlight. See how I'm adding a highlight over there? a little bit more of an orange color. So this is just adding a little bit more layers and more dimension into these swift brush strokes that I used that were just one color. Now I'm looking at how this is pieced together too. Like, do I feel like there's enough movement in the chandelier that it's not too cluttered, it looks good? Or do I need some swift brush strokes to kind of play around a little bit more with it and break up the same shapes? So just watch how I finish this up and add in my personal touches and changes to make it how I like it. Maybe this will give you an idea of what you need to change in yours. So one of the things that I'm noticing just by looking at it is that I need some more contrast. So I covered a lot of the background area, and when I add a little bit of the light color over the top, it provides more contrast, but I also probably need to add in darker color just to make it stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to grab my dark color and I'm going to put in some more of the dark area. And I'm placing it where I want things to stand out. So maybe along some of the pieces on the bottom there, it needs to stand out. So I'm going to add it right next to it. See how it made that bottom piece pop? Just by putting some dark next to it. So where in your painting does it need to have that? Go ahead and just watch how I add it in and where I place it, so you can get an idea of where you would like to place yours. So over there on that left, notice how different that is than the right. So if I want those chandelier pieces to stand out on the left, I gotta do the same thing that I did on the right. I don't have to have it symmetrical to the right. That wouldn't be that interesting. So maybe I'll have a little bit less, but I just want to have it pop out a little bit more. Some of the dark in the places inside of the chandelier. So just in some random places, just to give it some more contrast in there. And this is all about personal preference. This is also going to help make my chandelier shape. So I'm going to look at the shape of my chandelier and go along the edges and maybe do some curved lines based on how this chandelier should look. And this is the very end of your painting. So at some point you have to tell yourself that you're done. It looks great. You love it. And then sign your work and you are done. If you learned a lot from this painting tutorial, make sure you've subscribed and hit that bell next to the subscribe button and click all so that you can get notified when I make new videos and new content on YouTube. If you're ready to become a better artist, go ahead and click over there on the right to become a Createful Art member so you can get my weekly art lessons. They're going to teach you how to create a great composition, how to mix your colors, and a lot about color theory. They teach you the painting tools that you can use. I also love to share with you different methods and techniques that you can try out for painting so that you can discover your own preferences and your style. Hope you love your creation. Thank you so much for painting with me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!